Tabitha and Noah were both doctors, working at the same hospital and raising their 5-year-old son, Arthur. Their life seemed stable until Noah became captivated by the hospital chief's daughter, a young and beautiful woman. While he might have resisted the allure of youth, the potential for career advancement through this familial connection proved irresistible. Instead of deceiving his wife, Noah chose honesty. Upon learning that his mistress was willing to marry him, he informed Tabitha of his intention to divorce her. Divorce, though painful, is not uncommon nowadays, and Tabitha, despite her deep disappointment, did not intend to fight for her husband. She quietly endured the collapse of her personal life. Though heartbroken, she was determined to move forward. Tabitha thought that they would likely need to sell their apartment unless Noah chose to let her and their son keep it. However, Noah had other plans. He declared that he would not split the apartment and intended to keep it for himself. "Where did I find you when we married?" he asked coldly. "At your mother's place. Go back there," he demanded. But Tabitha's mother lived in a small 1-bedroom apartment, so Tabitha and Arthur found themselves with nowhere to go. On top of that, Noah, seemingly intent on driving Tabitha out of town, spread unpleasant rumours about Tabitha with the help of his new fiancée. Therefore, finding a new job also proved challenging. After receiving several rude rejections, Tabitha realised she could no longer stay in the city and made a desperate decision. She invested all her savings into a small house in a remote rural area, hoping to find a new beginning. The village where she settled had a medical outpost, desperately in need of a doctor. Tabitha was warmly welcomed, and the locals, who held doctors in high esteem, helped her get settled. The house she purchased was in disrepair, but the village administration and residents pitched in to help fix the roof and yard. Moreover, an elderly woman living alone offered to watch over young Arthur. Soon, Tabitha began to feel a sense of contentment and safety. She had her own home, the respect of her neighbours, and the past seemed less important. Arthur also adapted quickly to their new life, though he was initially saddened by the lack of children his age. Older kids sometimes teased him, calling him a soft city boy, but Tabitha was confident that in time he would make friends. For now, her company was enough. In their new residence, Tabitha and Arthur found themselves surrounded by natural beauty, including a nearby forest that locals claimed was teeming with seasonal mushrooms and berries. A river brimming with fish flowed close by. "You should see the bilberry in summer," the locals exclaimed. "The whole forest floor turns black." Arthur, enchanted by these tales, had been eagerly asking his mother to go berry picking since the spring. "Mum, wild berries are the best. They're even better than blueberries from the store, and they're free," he'd say, his eyes wide with excitement. "Bilberries only grow in the summer, Arthur," Tabitha would explain patiently. "It's still spring, so they haven't started growing yet, but we might find some first flowers in the forest." When summer finally arrived, it was warmer and sunnier than usual. Arthur, remembering the promise of bilberry, eagerly urged his mother to visit the forest. "Let's go, Mum, please, please," he insisted. "Mrs. White said the berries are ready. She'd pick them herself, but her back is bothering her. Let's gather some and share with her," Arthur suggested. "All right," Tabitha agreed with a nod. "We'll go on my next day off and collect as many as we can." Tabitha and Arthur wandered deeper into the forest, their excitement growing with each step, until they found themselves by the river. "Can we go fishing too?" Arthur asked eagerly. "Fishing is a bit more complicated than picking berries," Tabitha explained. "You need skill and the right tools. You can't just catch fish with your hands." "But I don't know how to fish," Arthur admitted. "Don't worry, we'll find someone to teach us," Tabitha promised. As she spoke, she noticed something unusual. 2 men, clearly not from around there, were struggling with a large sack near the riverbank. They seemed intent on throwing it into the water. Tabitha strained to hear their conversation. "Is it still alive?" one man said, a hint of uncertainty in his voice. "Maybe we should have weighed it down some more." "With bricks or something," the other remarked. "If you're so worried, go find some bricks yourself." Tabitha's eyes widened in horror as she saw the sack twitch. Something was alive inside. It wasn't human. The sack was too small, but it was clearly a large animal. Knowing it was risky to intervene, she began to back away slowly, hoping to hide behind the bushes. But just as she was about to slip out of sight, Arthur's voice rang out loudly. "Mum, what's in the sack? It's moving." The men, startled and frightened, turned to look at the unwelcome witnesses. They exchanged glances, muttered something displeased, then dropped their burden and headed to their parked car. Tabitha approached the sack and heard a moan coming from inside. She untied the rope and saw a bloodied dog lying within. Arthur burst into tears. "Mum, we won't leave him, will we?" "Of course not, son. We just need to figure out how to get him home. He's too big to carry. Let's make a stretcher. It's like a sled, but for pulling over the ground. Find me 2 big sticks," she said, examining the dog. Soon they managed to fashion a makeshift stretcher and drag the dog back to the house. "Mum, he won't die, will he?" Arthur worried. "Of course not. He's injured, but it doesn't seem fatal. We'll save him, don't cry," she reassured him on the way home. Getting finally to their house, she examined the wound more closely. It was deep, but not life-threatening. Tabitha cleaned it, applied bandages, gave the dog some medicine, and soon he fell asleep, gratefully licking his saviour's hand before dozing off. "He's such a beautiful dog," the boy said. "I think he's called a Labrador." "Did they steal him?" Arthur asked, his eyes wide with concern. "I'm not sure. Maybe," Tabitha replied softly. "Or perhaps they wanted to get rid of their own dog to avoid the cost of caring for him. Some people can be cruel like that." They decided to keep the dog, much to Arthur's delight. He named him Pirate and eagerly awaited his new friend's recovery. Soon enough, Pirate was well enough to explore the yard. Since Arthur still hadn't found many playmates, Pirate became his constant companion. "Finally, I have a real friend here," Arthur exclaimed happily. But Tabitha knew that a child also needs human interaction, so she made sure to spend quality time playing with him. One day, Arthur suggested, "Mum, let's play hide and seek. Pirate and I will look for you, and you hide, okay?" Tabitha laughed. "That sounds fun, but it won't be fair. Pirate will give you hints. He has a very good nose and eyes." "It's okay. I'll cover his eyes and nose, and you hide really well, so it takes us a long time to find you," Arthur insisted. He covered his eyes, counted to 10, and surprisingly, Pirate seemed to understand the game. The dog began nudging Arthur towards where Tabitha was hiding, as if eager to join in the fun. Tabitha watched in amazement as the dog not only nudged Arthur but actually took his hand, guiding him with purpose. Peeking from around the corner, she was initially captivated by the dog's behaviour, before realising, "Wait, Arthur, this isn't just a dog, it's a guide dog." "A guide dog?" Arthur asked, confused. "Yes, these are specially trained dogs that help blind people navigate safely," Tabitha explained. "So, Pirate had a blind owner," Arthur concluded. "It seems that way. But where is this owner now? And how are they coping without their guide dog?" Tabitha wondered aloud. "Does that mean those bad guys left a blind person all alone?" Arthur asked, his voice filled with worry. "It looks like it," Tabitha replied, her expression serious. "We need to find the dog's rightful owner. It's not correct to leave someone so vulnerable. We won't find them here in the village. I'll have to go to the city and ask around," Tabitha decided. Without postponing, the next morning, Tabitha headed to the town organisation that trained guide dogs. She hoped they would be able to help her find the dog's owner. And she was lucky. The staff confirmed that the dog named Tucker had been assigned to a businessman named Harold Robinson, who had lost his sight in an accident. He didn't hold much hope that his vision would be restored and asked if he could keep the dog permanently. Of course that's possible, and we honestly thought that's what had happened. But then we found out that both the dog and its owner had vanished, they told her. Can you give me this man's address? I want to find out more. I hope he's been found and is looking for his dog, which is now with me. Arriving at the address, Tabitha rang the bell, and a young, attractive woman with a rather indifferent expression opened the door. Harold isn't here. You found the dog? That's good. Unfortunately, he himself can't be found. He went for a walk with his dog one evening and hasn't been seen since. It's like he vanished into thin air. I hope they find him soon, Tabitha said sympathetically. Who? Oh, my husband, yes, I hope so too. I filed a police report. Not that it's done any good. I have no idea where he could be. But you can keep the dog. I have no use for it, the woman said, just as indifferently, which greatly surprised Tabitha. After all, her husband was missing, and the dog had been found under very strange circumstances. Yet she spoke about it without any emotion. However, Tabitha didn't want to delve into the young woman's feelings. Just in case, she left her address and headed home. On the way, she was reflecting on the situation. Yes, it's a suspicious story. They almost killed the dog, and the owner is nowhere to be found. He's probably not even alive anymore, and the wife doesn't seem too worried. Maybe it's all working out for her. If he's wealthy, she'll get all his money. Such stories aren't uncommon. Should I go to the police? Tell them what I found out? It seems like the only option. Although I could try conducting my own investigation. I could take the dog to the very park where they were walking. Maybe the dog shows something. Actually, that's a good idea. The following weekend, they all went together, Tabitha, Arthur and Pirate, who now happily responded to the name Tucker, to that very park where the businessman used to walk with his dog. Tucker was visibly excited to be in familiar surroundings, and soon confidently led his new friends to a nearby parking lot. Well, it's a parking lot. It's very possible that the car that took the dog was parked here. But how can we find out anything more substantial? Tabitha was puzzled. Mum, look, there's a security camera on the corner, see it? The boy pointed out. Maybe there are some recordings left. Oh, right. Maybe we can find out something from them. But will they show us the footage? Of course no. But with what we've already found out, I think we can go to the police, and most importantly, I remembered the model and a few numbers from the license plate of the car those men drove away in. It all could help. They went to the police, who told them everything in detail, and soon those who had tried to kill the dog were found. It turned out that the businessman, who had become completely helpless due to his disability, was being held hostage by them. They had kidnapped him during a walk. The faithful dog had tried to protect his owner, which is why he was injured. However, Harold Robinson was not kidnapped to be killed or held for ransom. The thing was, the businessman, despite his blindness, or perhaps because of it, had an amazing ability to remember long numbers, and his competitors hoped to get the details of a bank safe from him, where not only money but also important documents were kept. And the kidnappers were interrogated, and they revealed that the victim's wife was behind it all. It was revealed that she had long desired to be free of her husband and had orchestrated an accident intended to kill him, but which instead left him blind. Dissatisfied with the result, she came up with another plan. Soon all conspirators were brought to justice. Mr. Robinson formed a bond with the rescuers of his loyal dog. Tabitha invited him to stay at their rural home and reunite with his dog. The businessman agreed, eager to see Tucker again. May you consider leaving Tucker with us? Tabitha suggested gently. My son has grown incredibly attached to him. He's been crying for 2 days at the thought of letting him go. Plus, you'll need to prepare for your surgery and stay in the hospital. You'll need to find a place for the dog during that time. Honestly, Tabitha, I'm not sure, Harold replied, stroking Tucker's soft fur. I'm concerned about the surgery. I might decide against it. I'm not convinced it will be successful, and it could lead to further complications. You shouldn't think that way, Tabitha said. Why don't you trust medicine? I'm a doctor, and I've seen many cases with better outcomes than expected. Let me visit the hospital, talk to the doctors, and learn about all the risks. Don't you want to see again? She did just that, and with the help of her colleagues, convinced Harold to undergo the surgery. The operation was a success. Tabitha visited Harold often, and they became friends and felt something much deeper for each other. Tabitha even worried that once Harold regained his sight and saw her, he might be disappointed. But that didn't happen. When the bandages were finally removed, he was amazed. "You're so beautiful," he said, "even more than I imagined, and I'm so happy we met." Ahead of Harold lay the challenging tasks of restoring his health, his business, and returning to a normal life. But he knew he could handle it all. Now he had a truly caring person by his side, ready to support him in any situation.